This library in Boston is known worldwide for hosting a book made of human skin. If you are curious about this book, make sure to watch this video until the end. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Library Hunter. This is Kathy. Let's continue our adventure in amazing libraries. In the last video, we explored the Boston Athenaeum, focusing on the first floor art collections. And this time, we are going to discover the upper levels, exclusive to members and day pass holders. Now let's begin our tour today, taking the elevator to the second floor. In this breathtaking private library, they offer both individual and institutional membership programs. One hidden benefit that I really like is that they offer free or discounted tickets to hundreds of libraries and cultural institutions through the National Museum Associations, for example, the Frick Collection in New York and the Walt Disney Family Museum in San Francisco. So this $480 annual membership sounds like a good deal, especially for local Bostonians and frequent visitors. The second floor has a beautiful reading room where busts of Roman citizens flank a long table filled with periodicals. This beautiful sculpture that's welcoming us with a book in her hand is called Little Nell, an 1851 sculpture of the character from Charles Dickens's The Old Curiosity Shop. Little Nell is a kind-hearted and virtuous young girl. Facing financial hardship, she sets out on a journey with her grandfather, encountering both compassion and cruelty. Nell's innocence and resilience captivate readers, making her a timeless symbol of hope amid adversity. And this 50-inch tall sculpture looking out over the second floor long room is Nathaniel Bowditch, the original author of the New American Practical Navigator, a guidebook that is still considered by many to be the Seaman's Bible. His book revolutionized navigation techniques, which at the time were complex and often ignored by less skilled mariners, much to their detriment. Bowditch's approach corrected many errors to the book's predecessor, The New Practical Navigator, by John Hamilton Moore, added information, and simplified Moore's language so even sailors with minimal education could understand it. The second floor houses the Athenaeum's main reference collection. It consists of circulating fiction and over 500 periodicals, including newspapers, magazines, and journals. It's a cool idea that the library attached a note to each journal that they receive and display. Readers can leave their comments and share feedback to whoever reads it afterwards. What a great way to interact with other members. And check out this library and information history. It is the journal of the Chartered Institute of Library and Information Professionals, and the only British periodical devoted exclusively to the history of libraries and librarianship, and to the burgeoning field of information history. There's also an elegant spiral staircase in green wrought iron. This level holds books on geography, cartography, travel, hemisphere, guidebooks, and literature. Did you know that the Athenaeum has an in-house conservation lab? This is rare for a circulating library of its size. Conservation staff works to restore both circulating texts and special collection items dating back to the 16th century. Athenaeum conservators perform conservation treatments on rare books, maps, manuscripts, prints, architectural drawings, broadsides, and pamphlets dating back to the 16th century. The Conservation Laboratory is dedicated to the care and repair of Athenaeum holdings with inherent historic, artistic, or literary value. The laboratory was founded in 1963, making it one of the oldest conservation facilities in any library in the United States. Conservation treatments for rare books, bound manuscripts, periodicals, and pamphlets include repairing existing bindings wherever possible to preserve original historical objects, disbinding and resewing text blocks, repairing signatures, and creating new bindings in leather, cloth, parchment, vellum, and paper. Paper conservation treatments for maps, manuscripts, prints, posters, architectural drawings, broadsides, drawings, and ephemera include washing and dekidifying paper, mending tears and filling losses, and lining large sheets of paper. The third floor contains more books and houses the Athenaeum's catalog and acquisition functions. The highlight is hidden inside a dark blue-green wooden case with glass sides. The King's Chapel Collection. The collection consists of 17th century theological works, including John Calvin's works in Latin. The word Athenæum has ancient origins and is associated with Athena, the goddess of wisdom and the arts. These places often served as centers for intellectual and artistic activities, including education, philosophy, and literature. Over time, the term Athenaeum came to be associated with institutions that promote learning, literature, and culture. Many libraries, museums, and cultural organizations adopted the name Athenaeum to convey a sense of scholarly and cultural pursuits. The use of Athenaeum in the name reflects its commitment to intellectual and cultural engagement, drawing on the historical association with the pursuit of knowledge in ancient Athens. Speaking of the goddess Athena, it is a little bit ironic, as you might have noticed in the Part 1 video. During the early years of the Athenaeum's history, the library was a social gathering place for upper-class men of business. Although women weren't barred from the library, their numbers were very few in the first century of the Athenaeum's existence. Hannah Adams was the first female member of the library, though other exceptional women were allowed to use the collections without membership. Louisa May Alcott, author of Little Women, was a reader given access to the collections via her uncle, and journalist and women's rights advocate Margaret Fuller took advantage of the Athenaeum's collections to improve her knowledge of art and aesthetics. The Imagist poet Amy Lowell, whose family refused to pay for her to attend college, used the library as a substitute for a post-secondary education. It was there she indulged in her passions for literature and art. She was so grateful for the Athenaeum's existence, she even wrote a poem about it. In this sense, it can be argued that the Boston Athenaeum's history is partially feminist. You will also find their Cutter Cards archives, including handwritten index cards for former owners, broadsides, microfilm, maps, newspapers, tract, etc. Among the 150,000 rare books in the house, there is one book that's particularly mysterious, that has to be stored in a locked room, tucked into a custom-made box. It is known as Alan's Skin Book, a book made from his own flesh via a macabre process called anthropodermic bibliophagy. About the size of an ordinary paperback, the book is a memoir by the career criminal James Allen, alias George Walton. The light gray cover bears the Latin phrase Hic liber Waltonis, cute compactus est. This book was bound in Walton's skin. Born in Lancaster, Massachusetts in 1809 to a struggling family, Allen fell into a life of crime at the age of 15 and spent most of his life in and out of different jails. Before he died, Allen decided to tell the story of his life to the prison's warden and asked him to write it down. He also made a more unusual request, that enough of his skin be tanned to provide bindings for 2 copies of this memoir. While it is unclear exactly how this skin book got to the Athenaeum, anecdotal evidence suggests it was donated by John Fenno, Jr.'s daughter, sometime in the 19th century. There it sits today, describing the life of the man it is also made from. Citing conservation concerns, Allen's skin-bound memoirs are no longer on permanent display, nor are they available to view by appointment. If you are curious to learn more, you may find the digitized version, or be on the lookout for pop-up exhibits that may include the book in the future. The fourth floor is home to library administration and the World History Collection. There's an oval room where the Athenaeum's trustees meet, with peach walls and a light green ceiling. This statue of George Washington was a gift from several subscribers back in 1847. There's one entire bookcase that holds George Washington's personal library, which includes an autographed copy of Thomas Paine's Common Sense and the Congressional Register containing the first proceedings of the U.S. Congress. Check out this section of the author's review. American Poetry Review is a bi-monthly magazine focused on poetry. In continuous publication since 1972, this magazine features new poetry and columns focused on the act of writing poetry. London Review of Books is a British literary magazine published twice monthly that features articles and essays on fiction and non-fiction subjects, which are usually structured as book reviews. The lounge on the fourth floor is like a light-drenched living room space, providing comfy chairs, game tables, a member's kitchenette, even private rooms for phone and video calls. The Athenaeum's manuscript collection is smaller in size and includes several letters and journals from the Revolution era. Letters include Solomon Lovell's report of the initial success of the American Penobscot expedition into Maine, summer 1779. And of course, as I promised from the Part 1 video, there is another haunting secret hidden within the beautiful walls of the Boston Athenaeum. The Boston Athenaeum is one of the notable haunted places for ghost lovers in the city. In 1842, Nathaniel Hawthorne, author of The Scarlet Letter and The House of the Seven Gables, had his first ghostly experience while in the noble hall of the library. When he entered the reading room, he noticed Reverend Thaddeus Mason Harris sitting in his usual spot, reading the Boston Post. Hawthorne hadn't realized this was merely an apparition until that evening, when he was told that the minister had passed away. However, he encountered the spectral figure daily at the Athenaeum for weeks. The library assumed that since it relocated from Pearl Street, the current building is not where Hawthorne saw the Reverend. However, recent reports suggest the ghost may have followed during the Athenaeum's relocation to Beacon Street. Locals swear they have seen a man, dressed in a black pulpit robe, waiting to take the elevator. The same elevator that has been malfunctioning since it was installed and is currently off limits. And even today, this story remains a mystery. During the Halloween season, you will see a few local adventurers meet up at this spooky landmark. Besides these folklore-inspired groups, there are also annual events where Athenaeum curators will unearth some of the creepiest collection items that lurk in storage, ranging from early magic and demonology texts to spirit photographs and representations of the famed Granary Burying Ground, the historic cemetery that lies just beyond the Athenaeum's walls. I was hoping to attend the event this year, but tickets were sold out quickly, so if you are interested in this event, make sure to RSVP early next time. Through a small kitchen off the stairwell is a terrace offering panoramic views of the Boston skyline. Here you can take some time to enjoy the clear vista of Boston. From here, we can see the Park Street Church, the historic site where the hymn America, also known as My Country 'Tis of Thee, was sung for the first time on July 4, 1831. We can also take a quick peek of the Granary Burying Ground. Laid to rest on this small plot are quite a few historical figures. Local Massachusetts dignitaries rest next to three signers of the Declaration of Independence: Samuel Adams, John Hancock, and Robert Treat Paine. Other notables include the Revolutionary hero Paul Revere and Benjamin Franklin's parents. If you're interested, after visiting the Athenaeum, you can also take some time to stroll among the headstones in the Granary Burying Ground. The State House is also within walking distance. Now back into the 5th floor reading room. The 5th floor reading room is an extremely quiet space with stunning views of historic and modern Boston, classic architecture, and inviting reading rooms and nooks for reading, work, and reflection. Let's enjoy the ivory walls, barrel-vaulted ceiling, Palladian windows, and alcoves on either side and down the center of the room. Everything in this reading room remains colonial style for over 100 years. I can almost picture the image of the old days, when distinguished Boston authors were seated in tiny cubicles daily, building their stories and sipping some warm tea. Before we conclude our trip today, let's take a quick look at the basement level. It was really quiet down here. We can find a few index cards archive, a nice mechanical assist mobile storage system, and also a quiet art room. Before leaving the library, don't forget to pick up your bag and coat from the locker room. Well, I can't speak for Boston locals, but since I'm so spoiled by the sunny Southern California, I wouldn't want to leave my jacket here on a chilly, rainy Boston day. And that concludes our Part 2 tour in the Boston Athenaeum. I hope you enjoy this amazing library with me, and if you'd like to watch my previous and upcoming library adventures, subscribe now so that you won't get lost. See you in the next library. Bye.